Did you just get Monday CRM and you're not sure where to get started? Or are you on the market looking for another CRM? Well, you're in the right place. This video, I'll show you how to do a complete setup for Monday CRM. So let's get started. All right, so I've navigated over to Monday CRM and I'll just kind of give you the lay of the land here. So up here, you have a bunch of different features that you can use. So they have sequencing, which is your email sequencing, quotes and invoices. So like it's come a long way, but I still would say most people that I work with don't use the quotes and invoices, but you definitely can. It's a lot more user friendly than it was before. Mass email tracking, so you can send obviously a bunch of emails at one time. And then down here you have your Monday AI features. So this is kind of a new section. All Monday did was just put all their AI into one spot. So you have Sidekick, which is basically like kind of talking to an internal AI. Vibe is where you can actually build out apps and put them in different views and boards. Workflows is for automations, agents. They will actually do work for you. Note taker. So this is like if you want to use their note taker instead of saying like I don't know if you've ever used like Otter or any of those other types of note takers. This one's just embedded within Monday, which is actually pretty great. So I actually recommend using it if you don't have a note taker. And then here you have your normal set of boards. So you have contacts, deals, leads, accounts, products and services, activities, and sales dashboard. So products and services is primarily only needed if you're going to be doing the quotes and the invoices. So we probably won't touch on that during this. And then if you just click on the plus sign here and then go to CRM boards, you can see all the different boards that are just kind of like the CRM core boards that you get with the CRM. I'll just leave them all on for this, but these are all the ones that you get to start with. So this is kind of just the starting setup for you. And then if you go up here to more as well, you have the standard things that you normally have with Monday. You have your My Work, do quick searches, templates, and so on. So, anyways, let's get started with the leads board. So I kind of have already changed a few things, but for the most part, this is what your lead board should start out with and how it should look. And at the top here, you'll see lead submission form. And now we're going to build out a new lead form. All right, so we're now going to build out our leads form, and that you can put it wherever you want. Just to start out with kind of like what the lay of the land here. So you have the all of your content here, and then you can rearrange that to then rearrange your actual questions within the form, because like this whole thing right here is the form. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can see this is what the submit button is going to look like in the submission page. So right now we just have name, status, company, title, email, and phone. And you can put a logo at the top and you can change the name of it. So we'll call it contact us form because it's going to be on like our contact us page within our website. So we'll say something like, please fill this form out to the best of your ability, and we will get back to you within 24 hours. All right. And then you could add a welcome page if you want. Since this is a contact us form, we won't be doing that. So typically with the name, we're going to want to have that required, right? So if you click on the question settings, you can do required. And then you can also do pre-filled values and hiding questions. And then you can do logic, which we won't need to do logic on anything. But if you wanted to, you could select a question and say, if it was answered this way, then they need to answer this other question. So just have name for the first one, and then we can start adding more. So right now we have the email, which we'll probably want to have that go second. So if you go to the left here and move that up to email, we'll make this one required as well. So name, email, company kind of depends on your preferences. Like maybe you want to have the company required. I typically don't. And then for status, we'll make this one hidden. And because we don't need to have this as something that they answer. It was just part of like coming from the board within Monday. So we'll just kind of move that down to the bottom so we don't need to look at it. And then company, we'll leave it as is. Title, we'll just leave it as is as well. Phone number, we can do that as required. And then we could do the autofill, the country prefix. Or if you know all of your customers were going to be in a certain country, then you could just have it do an autofill of whatever that country is. And then all we're really missing for kind of like the most important details here would be just a description. So we'll go add here and add a long text, add to the form. And we'll move that up to, we'll say right at the end. And we'll say project description. Please give us some details on your project. And then you can put like some like timelines, budgets, and scope. Go with something like that. And we should probably make that one required as well so we don't have them coming in blind. Make that required. All right. Just to give you a little bit more information on this is pretty much all we probably need for this, but to give you more information, if you want to make more of like an intricate lead form, if you go and press the plus sign in between any of these fields, you can add different board columns. So if you click here, you can add them to the form, contact blocks, same idea. If you click on them, you could then add them to the form. And then if you just want to see them all at one time, you just click all there. And then you can actually add multiple pages as well. If you click here, if you want another page of questions, kind of like, those questionnaires that you have a question and the next one, question the next one. It's kind of similar to that. For this one, you can just change the button to like, we'll just keep it submit for now. And then unfortunately for this one, you can't change the image, but you can turn it off. And then you could say something like, we will get back to you within 24 hours. All right. So that's pretty much it for the form itself. And then you could add a logo here if you wanted. And if you click on design, on the right side here, you can have AI kind of extract like colors and themes and backgrounds and logos and stuff. So I just typed in my website, Process Flow Pros, and it came up with this stuff here. So look, it says finding logos, and it gave me like a color theme. So you can choose like blue. See that button is like blue now. And then your background, if you want to have that green, you can choose whatever colors you want here. And then same thing with the font. You could change up the fonts if you wanted to. And then you have a progress bar. Click this to get rid of the Monday branding over here in the bottom right corner. And then I believe you could do logo headers. And then on my website, you have processflowpros.com. So it just automatically populates in the branding there. And that all looks good. So let's do a quick preview of it. So this is what your form will look like. So if we'll go back, and then we'll go to the settings now. All right, so in the left corner here, you can jump around to different parts of the settings, but the general settings themselves, you really aren't going to use many of them for a leads form, just because this form in Monday is built so you could use it for many different purposes, but for leads, we don't really need many of them. So multiple forms, don't need that. Save as drafts, probably don't need it. Anonymous, don't need that. Recaptcha, you do want to put that on. And then the rest of these, unless you have different languages, probably don't need them. And then allow submitters to view the responses and redirect URL. You could maybe want to use a redirect URL if you want them to go somewhere specific after submitting the form. And then form tags. So if you turn these on, it'll add a tag to the form and add a new column in your leads board, and so you can see where the leads are coming from. So you get multiple lead forms. and those tags are associated with those lead forms, it'll populate in that column. We don't need that right now. And if we had multiple lead forms, though, I do suggest using them. But another way you could do it is if you had the leads coming from, like, say, like a Calendly or like a different type of leads location of some kind, you just, whenever you have it populate in Monday, you just assign it to that form. So you could say Calendly form, and then whenever you'd have to set like a make.com scenario or something like that to then populate as Calendly is being from that form. Sync questions and column titles here. So this is basically saying, do you want your column in monday.com to have the same title as the top as your question within the form? I don't sync them up just because I don't want internally us to be necessarily using the same words that we have on the form. You can to keep it simple though. And then allow creating items via form. We're good on that. And then group for answers, new leads. You can have it go to whatever group you want, but new leads is where this is going because it's the new leads form. And then on the right here, you can see this is a copy from link option. So if you click here, it gives you the copy to link. Nothing here. And then share forms. This is the same link we just copied. You can have a shortened URL version if you click here. And you can see it's a lot shorter now. You can password protect it, require Monday login, deactivate. And then something that's a little overlooked is if you click this little arrow here on the right, you can then get a QR code. So like say you're going to events, you could put this on your booth or some collateral. People could scan it and then fill it out. So if you go back to here and then you click on embed, then you get the iframe. So if you put this iframe into your website, you can embed it and then have people fill out that form. And then if we go to share forms one more time here, you could put it on whatever socials you want and then start regenerating the links once you've used them. So anyways, let's go back to the main view here. And then one thing I forgot was the how did you hear about us? So we could do the lead attribution. So let's go back in here, and towards the end, the required questions, I try to make this one required. We'll do a probably single select is probably best for this, I would say. And then we'll do how did you hear about us? And then we can have option one, say like Google search. And we'll do referral. And then you could say like YouTube, LinkedIn. And you could do a million of these, right? And then you could do like other, and then have them be able to put whatever they want here. So we'll just do other. And then we'll make that one required as well so that we could have some attribution to where our leads are coming from. All right, so that should look all good. Let's click preview. So now we have name. We'll put charlie@processflowpros.com. And for phone number, we'll put in, oh yeah, it's a thing in the top left corner. So they have to accept that for it to auto-populate so you don't have to go in and search here. But can I put in a fake number? I can't remember if it will do a fake number or not. So maybe we'll make that not required because some people don't necessarily want to put in their phone number all the time. So let's go back in here, go to phone, question settings, make it not required. And then we'll go back to the preview. We'll reset it. So Charlie, and then charlie@processflowpros.com. And we'll make that required. And I'll just put, I have a big detailed project. How'd you hear about us? Google search, tests and tests. I'm not a robot. And submit. All right, thank you. We'll get back to you within 24 hours, and you could have a redirect if you wanted to. Nice, the logo popped up there too. So now, if we go back to the main table, as you can see here, Charles Ferreira pops up, and all the information, the company, the title, the email, phone number would have populated if I put that in there, and then lead source. Oh, we didn't match that up correctly. So this lead source and how you hear about us are supposed to be the same thing. So we need to rename this as lead source here. And then if we go back to our lead submission form. All right, so as you can see, the name, how did you hear about us, and lead source is going to be different on both sides, but they're the same column. But just so we aren't confused, I'll delete this old one that I had here. So now this lead source column on the right here is going to be the one that we are going to work from for the leads board. All right, so now we're going to make sure all the columns in our leads board are set up right. And just to get started, we'll go with the status column. So I made some changes just now. Before the video, I added a nurture, and then instead of having attempted to contact, follow-up needed, and then just really the standard ones are pretty good. And then after that, I usually have a air call disposition column because I use air call for outbound cold calling. And then there's this activities timeline. All the pink is going to be anything that's incoming, so like emails coming to you. And then blue is going to be emails and notes and things like that you've done to the client. This create a contact button, I personally don't use it. I don't prefer using this as like the method of moving a lead throughout the like customer journey. So we're just gonna go ahead, click the three dots, remove that. And you have company, title, email, those are all good. And then I usually like to put something that tells you like what your next follow-up date's going to be. So if you click the three dots and then add column to the right and then date, we'll put next follow-up dates. And then next to that one, so this is going to be a manual column that your sales reps fill out. And if you click the three dots, add column to the right, another date column. And then you have a last email sent to date. And this is going to be an automation. So if you go to the top right corner and click on automate, and then create, and then if you click on or type in emails and activities, click on that. So now you're going to have all of these templates for your emails and activities feed. So there should be one that says when an email comes in. So when incoming email received from email column, change item status. So we want date. When incoming email received from email column, set date to today. So we're going to use that one. And then we have the email column from the leads board. And then we have the last email sent date. So, this is for last incoming one. We want last sent one. So when incoming, an activity is created, when incoming email received, an email is open, a new email is sent to this column. There we go, bottom left here. When new email is sent to this column. So when a new email is sent to the email column, got that wrong again. Sorry. When new email is sent, set date today. All right, third time's a charm, right? So when new email is sent to the email, set date for the last email sent date to today. All right, so now whenever you send an email to this email column, this date will populate. All right, so now we have the last email send date automation, email, lead sources here from the form that we originally had, phone number, last interaction. I think this was a default one. We can get rid of that. And then if you click the three dots and add column to the right, you can actually get, so I know it's a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of different ones than Monday. There should be one called the last updated. So if you click on that, you can see who the last person to update it was at a time and the dates. And then you have your sequences column. So that's going to be for email sequencing. I have another video on that if you want to learn more about email sequencing. But if you enter a lead into an email sequence, it'll show here which email sequence they're in. And then this long text one was the project description. So we'll rename that. And then one thing I know we missed was the location, and there's a few different ways to do that. So maybe you want to put that a little bit further up. So add column to the right. And then you could do it as a basic text field, or you could do it as an actual location column. And with a location column, what's nice, if you press here and you just start typing in an address, it'll populate. But the thing is, it won't populate the zip code. So like, for instance, later on, if you're like doing a mailer or something and you need to have a full address, it won't show up there. But you can always extract using the formula column from this location column. So if you just need, like, say the city or the state or something like that, and to search by city or state, you can. So you could just do a combination of like the location column and then a zip code column. There's multiple different ways to do that. So just do zip code here. So you at least have the full address and then the zip code, or you could do a text column for the address. Kind of up to you how you want to do that. But just these two should be fine for what you need. And then I usually put in, say, like a lead creation date. So there is a creation log column in Monday, but it doesn't work with the automations as well. So we'll do a quick automation on the date for when it was created. So just do another date column, and we'll say like lead creation date. And then we're gonna have to go to automation centered again, go to create from scratch. And then we're going to say, type in item. So when item created, and then we'll type in the word set date, and then you'll choose that lead creation date column and then you're gonna click on today, and then create automation. So whenever an item is added to the leads board, so basically whenever a new lead comes in, then the creation date is going to be set to today. All right, so now these will just populate. So I'll just put today's date here just for record. And then we'll do like an unqualified, qualified date. So the same idea. So click the three dots, add a date column, and we'll do qualified/unqualified date. So then we'll say another automation, create from scratch, and we'll say when status. So if you could type better than me there, when status changes, and we'll do lead status changes to qualified. Then set date, and we're gonna do the qualified to today. Create automation, and then you do the same thing for unqualified. So you could just go back into your automations and then duplicate it and change that to unqualified. So if you click the three dots here, you can go in and do duplicate. And then when status changes to unqualified, then set that date to today. All right, so that covers that. Now, one more column that is kind of essential to automating all of this, assuming you want to automate as much as you possibly can. You want to click the plus sign here and add a item ID. So if you go here, type in item and item ID, it's going to add a unique identifier, is usually what I call it. So I just rename this UID. And then you use this to sync up all of your leads, contacts, deals, and accounts. And then that should be pretty much it for all of your columns here in the leads board. Now, what I like to do is whenever a lead comes in, and this is primarily if you're going to be using something like AirCall for doing your calling, whenever a lead comes in, I like to go ahead and automatically create a contact automatically. Now, before we make the automatic contact creation, I forgot actually to do the lost reason. So let's just put that somewhere around here, 3 dots, at column right, and it's going to be a status column. And you could do lost reason, and we could put something like price. Let's say like competitor, or we'll say like features, bad timing, whatever else you think is a good lost reason for your business. So, and I think that was it for what I had here. Actually, just kind of looking at some of the columns from another one of my build outs here to make sure they're similar. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Another thing you could do is like a first name and a last name column, just so like when you're automating the emails, you could just grab the first name. Otherwise, right now you're just gonna get the full name, Charles Ferreira. But anyways, let's go to Automation Center and do the automatic lead creation. So we'll do the same thing. Item, when item is created, then if you type in board, you're going to get create item in board and connect boards. And then you're going to choose the board. So we're going to have the contacts board. So I typed in contacts, and I don't remember, I think it's this one right here. And we're going to then fill out all of the different fields that are going to be mapped over. So name is going to be, so in Monday, item is going to be the name. As you can see here, sometimes they use the word name, sometimes they use the word item. Kind of changed over time and depending on where you're looking at it. But anyways, there's item here. So we're going to do item name. And then for email, it's going to be just email. Let's type it in here, see if it just pops up. We'll do items email. And then accounts, nothing for that. Then deals, nothing for that. Phone is going to be phone. Whoops. You can type, if you type in there, it'll just show a static value. Items phone. We don't want it twice. And then title is going to be title. Go and search here. Title. Oops. Why is that giving me trouble here? Oh, yeah. It's a different column on their side. So leave it be for now. And then all these are going to be just empty for now because we don't have all the columns matched up right. And then you're going to click connect boards. We're going to connect both boards. And then we're going to create a new column, connect board column. And then you're going to go ahead and choose that connect boards column. And then over here, same idea, add new column, add to board. And then should pop up here. Add new column, add to boards. And then sometimes things in Monday just don't show up on lists like this right away. If they don't, then usually you could type in and search for it. Let's just see if it'll let us create it, and then we can go back in and change it. So click the 3 dots, edit, go to connect boards. Still not popping up. So basically what we're saying is we want the boards to connect 2 ways, so both ways. Your source board is going to have a connect board column, and then the target connected board, which is the contacts board, is going to have a connect board column. But if you look at your 2 boards here, on the lead automations board, we have the connect board column, and it's just not connected to anything right now because for some reason it just wasn't connecting. So we're going to go ahead and select the contacts board, contacts, and we want to do, let's rename this just so I don't keep getting confused with it. So we'll do contacts 2026. It's pretty important to name your boards because if you have multiple boards that have like similar names across, if you have like multiple workspaces, it can get confusing. So we'll do 3 dots up here, settings, customize, select board, and then type in contact again. And then you should have contacts 2026 here. And then check mark that, and then set as two-way connection, connect boards. So typically you shouldn't have to do what we just did. Typically it should just be done in the automation. It should work just fine. So if we go to the connect boards column now, or board, you can see link to leads here. So now there's a two-way connection. So if we go back to our leads board and go to automate, and then click the 3 dots, edit, and then we'll make sure that that connect boards part now connects. Yep, link to leads. There we go. Update automation. All right, so let's give it a try now. See if the connect board automation worked correctly. So we'll click on new lead, just populate a new lead. We'll just put test lead, click enter, and then we'll go over to the contacts board, and it says new lead, and the name did not populate like it should. So let's go back over to the automation real quick. Click the 3 dots, edit, and it may have just populated too fast. That's another thing with Monday automation. Sometimes things can get a little interesting if you don't have the timing down right. So a good way of doing that is to, like, if you do a leads board or a deals board, and you, more specifically, if you just want people to not miss information being put in, you want to make a required form. So if you click on the 3 dots up here, and I suggest this for most boards, just because you don't want missing information in your CRM, right? And then you go to, I believe it was more actions, no, but settings. And then you have the enable item creation form. So once you have that set, you can click on new lead, and this is just for the leads board right now. Now you can require certain things to be filled out in order to create a new lead manually. So if you click on the edit up here, right now you can see names required, and it's going to look just like the form that we did earlier. So if you click on any of these, you can then make things required. So we're going to make email required, phone number, no. Let's go with lead source, make that required. And then you can include conditions on these just like in the forms. And then that's it for this. And then we'll just do Charlie tests. And then we'll do charlie@email.com. So these are the 2 required we have, and then lead source is required. And then we're going to click save. And then you have Charlie test down here. And then if we go over to our contacts board, see it says Charlie tests, charlie@email.com. Now let's go back over to the leads board and make a few more adjustments that I forgot to do before. So we want to have different groups for the different stages of the lead. And you could do as many as you want. You could do one for each one of these, or you could just do one for like 3 or 4. Doesn't really matter, kind of up to you how you want to automate them. I at least do, so if you click on this down arrow here next to new lead, you can choose new group of leads. And I usually do a unqualified, disqualified, however you want to name it, group. And then I'll drag that down here. Let's see here. There we go. And I'll do another one for follow-up needed. What color? I try to match up the colors a little bit. So follow-up needed was kind of like a rose. Follow-up needed, and that was Pink looks like it's the closest one. And there we go. And then I'll do another one for the qualified. Yeah, qualified leads. And we'll make that one, I believe it was green. And we'll bump that down right before unqualified. So now what we want to do is we have whenever a lead is qualified, it's going to bump down to the qualified leads, and it's going to create a deal. That's the order operations. But since we clicked on it, I didn't really explain this. If you click on the down arrow, you can actually do a import for your leads, and it's by CSV. So we have different ways of getting the leads into a leads board, right? We have the leads form. We could do this. We can use a make.com scenario to link some other lead source, like from Facebook ads or like a Calendly booking, stuff like that. And then also we forgot to create a column here. So if you do the 3 buttons and then add column to the right, and then people, we want lead owner. So lead owner. So you could automate this as well. You could say whenever new lead is created, set owner to, and then it will set to whomever you want. So like, or if you would just want to manually assign them, you just click on it and you can assign, and then you can assign multiple people if you want as well. For the groups here, let's just show you what an automation would be for a group. So if you go to automate, then create automation, then we can do when status changes to something. So say when status for the lead here changes to qualified, we'll say move item to group, and we'll do qualified leads. So create that automation. And then we're going to do one that does whenever it's qualified, it's going to create a deal on the deals board. So if we come out of here, and by the way, you can name these boards whatever you want. So if you click the 3 dots or double click it, you can go to rename. And if you want to name it like opportunities or whatever, you want to be having it as a name that's best for the way you guys run your sales is fine. Monday's, highly customizable. So the first thing we want to do before we start doing that automation is making sure the target boards that we're going to be pushing data to have all of the appropriate columns. So like earlier, the contact board, when we were mapping the stuff over, so like all of these, like column names here and the column types themselves weren't the same over on the contacts board. So we need to make sure that they are lining up and that we're not losing data. Because like right now, for instance, the title column, it doesn't exist the same way in both boards. So like right now, this board is like a multi-select, whereas in our other board, it's just text. So it's not bringing the data over. It's just going to get thrown into the abyss basically when we move it over there. So the easiest way to do this is if we go back to our leads board and then we just take one of our leads and then move it over to that board. So we'll just do that here with our test lead. If you click on it and then you click move to board, contacts 2026, active contacts. So now you can choose on the left side, you have the leads board, on the right side, you have the contacts board. So what do we want on the contacts board? We want to have want to have the status? Probably not necessary because we could always mirror over the real-time status. So we're not going to do that one. Lead owner, that one probably makes sense to keep and bring over. So we'll add that as a new column. Activities timeline's fine. Company, we could add that as a new column. But realistically, we're just gonna add the accounts column. So we don't need to do that right now. Title will add as a new column. Next follow-up date, probably don't need that. Email sent date, don't need that. Email's email. Lead source, we are going to add as a new column. Loss reason, Probably don't need to add that. Phone, location, zip code, we'll add those. We'll add zip code. Lead creation date could be helpful, so you could add that. Qualified, unqualified date, last updated. You kind of get the idea. If it's not over there, then not a bad idea to add it on that side. And then the unique ID, you definitely want to add that on that side. But the thing is, that's going to be a text column. So don't add that one. And then you're going to, yep, that should all be good. So now you just move item. This is just saying that some of these fields aren't going to be moved over. Move item anyway. Now, if you go over to the contacts board, you can see all of the columns that we had from the leads are now over here. So what you're going to want to do is just like there's a lead creation date, you're going to want to do that for the contacts as well. So go here and we'll do contacts creation date and automate that as well. So then whenever a type in item, whenever a new contact's created, you're going to set the contact creation date to today, create automation. And then let's see here. Got your lead source, title, zip code, location, link to lead, project description, priority. Some of these you don't necessarily need in here, but I think it's fine the way it is. Like this title one, we don't need anymore because we're going to use the text field title. And then the UID for the contacts is now, we're going to delete that. And then we're going to create a text at a column to the right, at a text column. And we're going to call that UID because that is going to be the item ID from the leads board is then going to go over to the contacts board. All right, so let's go back to the leads board, go to automate. And then the original contact creation one. So when an item is created, create an item in the contacts board. We're going to make sure the item data is all going over correctly. So type, priority, comments, the UID is going to be the item ID, which was the UID from this board. So I think we can just type in UID here, items UID. There we go. And then the project description is going to be the project description. And then the creation date, qualified, unqualified date. Let's see here. Guess we don't need that. Lead creation date, items, lead creation date. And then zip code is going to be zip code. Oh, keep doing this in the wrong spot. This is actually a new way of doing it. Monday didn't have it like this probably a couple weeks ago. So it's very new. Items location, lead source is going to be items status, items lead source label. And then you're going to do title as items title, items title. And lead owner is going to be, let's see if you just type in lead owner. I don't know if we had a people column on that side or not. Can't remember. We might have just called it a people column. I can't remember. And link to leads, don't need anything with that. Target group, we'll go with active contacts. All right, so now all the data from the leads board is now going to map to the appropriate columns in the contacts board whenever you create a new lead. All right, so the next thing, I don't think we created it, did we? Whenever items qualified, oh, we did. So now we're going to do, when it's qualified, it's going to create a deal in the deals board. But before we set up that automation, we need to make sure all the columns on the deals side are correct. So let's go over to the deals board now. As you can see, a lot of these should be focused on deals, right? They're deal focused columns, and we want to make sure that we aren't having too much duplicative information across the boards. And if we do, we just mirror it just so we like reduce admin work. So the first thing we have here is deal, activity timeline, stage, owner, deal value. And then this is a connect board column for the contacts board, connect board column for the accounts board, close probability, forecast value, last interaction. So we can get rid of this last interaction and then do that same one we did before, which I don't know why. I always forget the name of it. It was last updated, just like we had on the leads board. And then I'm actually going to take a peek at a similar deal setup I have to make sure we have some of these correct. So having these stages like new, discovery, proposal, negotiation one, loss. Some people don't need new, right? Because new just means like it's in discovery already. So you honestly might not even need new as an option. And then some other ones I like to add here is like on hold. Then you could have stuck. You could have waiting on approval. On approval. Lots of different options here. It could be dependent on your industry. And then you could also have another column that goes into like another detail. So like these could be your high level stages, and then you could have even smaller, more detailed stages within that on another column if you don't want to have like too many in one status or stage column. So yeah, and then you can make these whatever you want. I would imagine stuck's probably not going to be green and that sort of thing. So all right, here. So some of these columns are going to be similar to just because from the leads board, and you can put in other data that you wouldn't want on the leads board. You could put like opportunity type could be an option that might not be on your leads board. So it's just going to be a status column. You could say like opportunity type. You could call it like engineering services. Say engineering services. And then you could say product sale, creative services, and so on. So lots of different things you could do for this depending on the type of business you're running. All right, and then the just like the other ones, you're going to have like a deal creation date. So go over here, cover date, and then call it deal creation date. And then you're going to have like a one loss date. Let's go. Deal 1/loss date. And then just like on the leads board, you're going to have a lost reason. And you could do, I guess, same before, like price, feature, supply chain issues. And then let's see, what else did I have here? If you're going to track payments on this as well, you could add invoice number, and then you could use like a QuickBooks integration with make.com, which I do typically, not typically, but with some customers. So you can have like invoice number and invoice status, which that one is going to be, that one's a little bit trickier to set up, but you can definitely have that. And you can have this one that's like paid, partially paid, no, partially paid, and then overdue, and then you're going to want to have like location and all that other stuff from the leads board. So just so we don't, do any guesswork here, we could go back over to the leads board and do the same thing that we did before with moving one over. So if you click this, move to board and choose deals, and it doesn't really matter which one, active deals. So the status we don't need, owner we could probably keep the same. And then company we don't need, title. Let's see here. We don't need that. Next follow-up date. We'll probably just add that as a new column because we want that on both sides. Then last email sent date. We're going to want to have that as well on both sides. Now remember, just because you're adding it doesn't mean that automation's added. So you're still going to want to add that automation like we did on the leads board, on the deals board. Email column, probably don't need that. We could just mirror it over from the contacts when we connect it. And then lead source is just nice to have, I'd say. You could also mirror that over too from the contacts, but I usually put it there just because it's nice to have. Lost reason, probably going to be unnecessary, right? Phone number, don't need that. Location, need that. Zip code as a new column. Lead creation date, probably don't need that. Last updated the same. And then the UID, don't need that, but we're going to have to add that as a text column. And then move item, move items anyway. So go back to the deals board. We're going to add that UID column as a text. UID. Okay, so let me check this. And your deal value and close probability. I think that's pretty much the gist of what you need on this side. Now, if we go to our accounts board, I keep it pretty simple on the account side. I don't really typically add that much. You're just going to need that UID just so you can match things up. UID. And let's see here. Everything looks good. All right. So how do we trigger this whole lead, create a deal, and account automation thing? So now we're going to create the automation. So go to the automation center, click create, and then you're going to do create from scratch. So you're going to say when the status changes to qualified. So when status, the lead status changes to qualified, it's going to create an account. So, and then connect it. So type in board, and it's going to create an item in another board. So we're going to do board and then accounts and then connect boards. So we're probably going to end up with that connect board problem we had before, but add as a new column, add to board, see if it works. All right, we've got connect boards, then same idea, add new column, add to board, and then connect boards. All right, so we got both sides this time. Click on it again, make sure it's there. Then we're gonna go item, and then you have to map over all the information from before, or like we did similarly with the contacts board. So we got items, and then the item name, and then description, headquarter location, UID, and then that item ID is going to be the UID. So we go item ID. which should be in here somewhere, or UID, item ID. Or did we already rename it items UID? There we go. Oh, shoot. Here we go. And choose group, and we'll just go companies. Click on the X, and then after that, it's going to do the same thing except for deal. To board, create item in board, and we're going to choose the deals board, and we're going to connect boards, same idea, except this time we're going to choose the nope, we're gonna add a new one. Take that back. So add a new one, and then choose that connect board, and then for here, add a new one, add a board, and then connect boards, and then same idea. We have to map this stuff over again. So we go items name, and then the owner is going to be the owner. Items lead owner, contacts, expected close date, invoice number, lead source. It's going to be lead source, and status label, and then zip code is going to be zip code. Zip code. For some reason, it doesn't want to get away from here. UID should be, I believe it's UID now, but just to make sure. ID, times UID. There we go. And then target group, we'll go with the active deals for now. Click away, create automation. And sometimes this could take a while. It all kind of just depends on Monday servers for the most part. So now we're going to go over to the accounts board and go to automate. And we're going to choose create, and we're going to search for a template. So type in match. And so we're going to do the one when an item is created in this board, connect the item where this column matches this column. So this is why we were using the UIDs. So we're going to say when an item is created, and I believe we need to do the board first. So we're going to say the, we'll connect the contact board first, and we're going to do the contact. So we're going to say when an item is created in this board, connect, and thought we already had that column in here, connect. So we just added a connect board column between the two, where the UID matches the, we should have the UID in both sides. Connect the item where the UID matches, and it should be the UID in the contacts by this logic. So I'm a little confused. I'm guessing we didn't name it something, but let's go check real quick. So if we go back to the contacts board, and then go over to title, lead source. Yeah, we have a UID column right here. So that's the only thing about Monday. Sometimes stuff that you're looking for doesn't show up where it's supposed to. But let's check these to make sure. So this one is connected to the contacts board. Contacts, and this one. So we're going to end up deleting this other contacts board connection. And then this one is not connected to anything. We'll connect that one to the deals. As there deals 2026, back to the whole not naming things. I should have named these. So we got 2026 right there. Make it two-way. And then we'll end up deleting these two, but let's go back to automation. Go to create and then match and choose another board, choose contacts. And maybe I just chose the wrong one. High probability I did that. So we're going to connect the contacts with UID, or we're matching the UID columns. There we go. And create automation. All right. And then same idea for the deals. So you're going to do the same idea. So if you just duplicate this one, and then we're going to choose deals, right? No, because the deals is getting created after the accounts. So if we go to the deals board and do the same thing, so we're going to go to create and then type in match, and then we're going to we could do contacts first, and contacts 2026 connect with the contacts board. Then we're going to do UID with the UID, create automation. And then we're going to do the same thing for accounts. Whoops. Create and then match, use template, other board, accounts, 2026, connect, link to accounts, and then UID to UID. Then create automation. All right, so let's see if this works out. So now if we change this to qualified, it should create an account, it should create a deal, and then it should connect everything together. So if we choose qualified, it'll bump it down to the qualified leads. And you can see the automation in the bottom right corner is running. All right, bumped it into qualified leads, Charlie test. Now let's go over to accounts, Charlie test, and add the UID, connected it to the Charlie test deals. And then over on the deals side, we have Charlie test. So we map the name over, a little funky, it looks like, the UID, and then it connected to the accounts, and it probably didn't connect to the contacts because I probably don't have a contact in there because I didn't contact with the UID. Yeah, there's no UID on this contact, that's why. So let's start from the very beginning here. So if we go to leads, go to new leads, go Charlie tests 2026, charlie2@email.com. We'll test there, lead source, LinkedIn. We'll just 5, just so we have some more data, and then click save. Now that should create a contact and connect it. So if we go over to here, we'll see we'll have a connection to Charlie Test 2026. If we go over to the contacts board, your Charlie Test 2026, and it's connected to the leads board and brought over the lead source, the zip code, the project description, UID. Now, if we go back to the leads board and we qualify that lead, it's going to then pop it down into qualified leads. And then if we go to the accounts board, it should create Charlie Test 2026 account. And we could, realistically, I should have mapped over the company name over to this. So that was my mistake there. Added the UID, and then on the deal side, it connected it with the deal. You go to the deals, Charlie Test 2026, and then it connected to the account. And then this one is the lead. So let's see if it connected to the contacts. And it did not, because I honestly can't remember if we set that up yet or not. So you have accounts, and then we have contacts. When an item is created as a board, connect this item where UID matches UID in contacts 2026. And we're matching it with the contacts here. And this contacts is connected with contacts 2026. Did I make multiple ones of that? So this one is leads board, leads connection, and then this one is accounts. And then this one says when an item in this board is created, connect contacts, the item where UID, UID matches UID, and contacts 2026. Update this automation. So whenever a new account is added, it should automatically link these up, unless I disconnected for some reason the IC. Yeah, we don't have the board connection two-way on this side, I don't think. Settings. No, they're connected. I see what it is. The UID for some reason is doubled up. So when we were mapping it over, that's my mistake. So we go back to the automations on the leads board, and we go to the, where is it? When it creates a contact. And then we go to the item for the mapping. And then we go to the, there we go. It doubled up. That's why it's not working. Update automation. All right. Live mistakes, live troubleshooting. Even experts can make mistakes. All right. Third time's a charm, right? So let's just do this from the top. So we'll do Charlie 2026, 3, and yeah, charlie3@email.com, and test 5, lead source YouTube, and zip code, tests, save. All right. So from the top, it should create a contact. Go to the contacts board. Charlie tests 2026 3 is there. Brought over the data. 1 UID this time. Fantastic. Go back to the leads board. Click qualified. Now it should add a account called Charlie tests 2026 3, and brought over the UID, created a deal, connected the deal, go to the deal side. Now see, connected to the contact, connected to the account, and did it both here too. So yeah, you don't need both of these accounts. You could delete, excuse me, you could delete one of them so that you only have one now. And then you have your lead connection, UID, zip code, So everything looks like it came over just fine. And then on the account side, we have the contact and the deal connected as well. So, and then looks like this one wasn't connected, so we don't need this one anymore. All right. So anyways, that should be, let's double connected. It looked like Charlie, did we set up 2 automations? Connect to contacts. And then on the deals side, contacts, accounts. Interesting. Not quite sure why I did that. But anyways, I think a few things we've missed on the deals, just on the deals board alone, is like for each one of these stages, you're going to want to, not necessarily all of them, but you're going to want to, just like on the leads board, create a group. So you're going to want to have like a discovery group and a proposal group and so on and so forth, like we did before. And then you're going to want to create automations that every time you choose them in each one of these, every time you choose each stage, you're going to want it to automate and throw it into that bucket. And then same idea with the last email sent date, next follow-up date, do the same automations that we did for the leads board. I'm confident that you guys learned from the leads board, so you guys can do that instead of having me drone on about doing it again. I'm sure it's getting a little exhausted and boring from all the explanation I've done so far. But just let me check out real quick here to see if I got everything included in here. All right. So the next thing is setting up dashboards and views for each one of these. I'm not going to go too in depth to these in this video on that. I'm going to create a separate one. But just to kind of give you an idea of like how to filter through these. So on each one of these boards, you have search. So you can search for anything in here. So like if I type in medium, it's going to show anything with medium in it. If you do person, you can then filter by the person on the board. A cool feature is you can create different views with filters. And this one's pretty neat where did it go here? You could have it be anybody. To UID, contacts, owner, and me dynamic. So this means anybody who's looking at it, it's the stuff that's assigned to them. So it's dynamic. So if I look at this, I see only my stuff. If someone else looks at this view, they see only their stuff. So you could save that as a new view, click the 3 dots, rename it, and say like my stuff. So if anybody looks at it, it's just their stuff. But the main table is like always the view that has absolutely everything. And you can't you can't change what this view looks like. So you have to filter and then save. So if you wanted to filter by, say, the deal value, like is not empty, save as new view. And then we could just call it like all deals with values. And then you could do, if you click the 3 dots here, you could do conditional coloring. And then you could say maybe like red. And then we could do like the stage column. We say the stage column is negotiation. So it's like something that's, has a value assigned to it. It's negotiation, so it's closing soon. And then those cells for the deal values will, wait a second, go back to conditional coloring. So that row, when it's in negotiation, will turn red, or you could do the cell. So like here, let me show you. There you go, negotiation. So then you can make all kinds of different views. They have the plus sign. You could do Gantt chart views. They have a sales report view and a pipeline view, and so on. So I can go into more detail on these in another video, just so you can get better understanding of how that works, I usually like to create a leads dashboard and an opportunities dashboard, so you can see like all your opportunity revenue coming in and all of your like leads per month, and like the attribution that goes towards it. So like, did they all come from Google or whatever? But yeah. So something that's often overlooked, but is very, very important to setting up anything in most software is permissions. So depending on the tier you're at is the amount of like permission settings you get. This is currently just a pro one I'm looking at. So there's enterprise above that has a lot more granularity, but on almost every single one of these boards, you're going to want to set up the permissions. So if you go to these three dots here and then click on permissions, typically I want to say only edit content is what you're going to want to do. And then some people might want to do only edit assign leads. If you want more granularity, like you see the little diamond here, you have to upgrade to enterprise for the most part, but only edit content is probably going to be sufficient for most people. So that means essentially they can just edit content in here, but they can't move around the boards and or move around the columns and edit columns and stuff. And then some people might want to kind of restrict each one of the columns. So if you click on the three dots on any column and go to settings, you can restrict column editing. So right now, anybody in this list, so like naturally, if you're a board owner, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. And then if you add people to this list, like I added Charlie here, they can now edit this column, but now no one else can edit it, but everyone can still see it. Now, if you click the three dots, then settings, and then remove it, and then click the three dots, then go to settings, and then restrict column view, now only Rick can see it. And now if I click here, now Charlie can see it. So right now, this is an invisible column to everyone else except for those two. Unfortunately, you can't mix the two. You can only use one or the other, the ability to change it or the ability to see it, which typically is fine and you can get by with that. But again, if you want more permission setting, you have to use the enterprise level of Monday. All right, so now that we have the primary board set up, the contacts, deals, leads, and accounts. There is the activities board. So if you take a look at this is going to show you like all the different activities in the emails and activities feed that happen. Can be helpful, depends on how you want to use it. I'd say it's probably not really in the scope of this video, but that does segue into like the most important part of the CRM, I'd say. So pretty much on any one of these boards, if you click into it, you can then see all of your data for the lead, the deal, or the account, and you can actually change how this view looks. And you do that by going to the top three over here, edit layout and contents. And then as you can see now, you can move these around, resize them, make them look however you want. You add new widgets, deal stage, all kinds of stuff. So the default I think is pretty good. So you don't really need to do anything. Maybe you want to like reduce the number of fields you see here, but I think the default settings are pretty good. Maybe your different views up here, your update section for like internal communications, your activity log, and then you can create new views, item card views, and let's see here. What was this? They have a canvas view here too now. Interesting. But the most important part is this email and activities feed. And if you click on the integrations here, you can integrate, Gmail, Outlook, Zoom, and then have all of those emails show up here in the feed. And then you can create new emails from here, choose who you want to email from, and then you can create some templates as well. And you can add attached files and pretty much do all of your email communication within Monday here. And then you can scroll through your leads and contacts in the top right. And then you can create different kinds of activities. So you could like schedule meetings using Google Meets, and it'll automatically go on your calendar and show up in the feed here. You can do like a call summary. So I'll just put test here and then add it. And then that'll show up in your emails and activities feed or board that I was showing you before. And then you can do custom ones here, like I have air call. and it's usually I have Aircall, and I'll show if you want to know how to set up Aircall, I made another video on that you can check out and show how you can do the disposition for the calls in there. And then you could do a task as well here, or a note. And then you can click the 3 dots, pin them to the top, and then you can set yourself some reminders, different times of the day, if you want to follow up on specific notes. And let's see, like a task, for instance, you can give yourself a reminder in a few days, test task, and it'll show up in the feed here. So and this will be on any deal, lead, or contact or accounts. And then if you have them all connected, they'll cross-pollinate. So this emails and activities feed, if they're connected to a deal, like for instance, this is connected to these other contacts and deals, the emails and activities feed, as long as the email is there, will cross-pollinate. So you'll see the communications across the leads, the deals, and the accounts. All right, so that pretty much is it for just doing the basic setup. I have other videos I'm going to create on the dashboard creation. I have an email sequencing video, and I'll be continuing to make more CRM content. But this is the gist for a beginner setup. But if you'd like something a little bit more complicated, or would like some help just doing this implementation, feel free to reach out. All my information is in the description below, and thanks for watching.